Philadelphia Eagles kick it off against the Dallas Cowboys in South Philadelphia. Not only do they kick off their regular season, but they also kick off the whole 2025 NFL slate. Welcome into the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. This is Eagles pregame here, brought to you by Verizon. Mark Farzetta, along with veteran Eagles reporter Derek Gunn and Seth Joyner, of course. Look, we have heard all offseason that the Eagles, the way they talk about their Super Bowl victory, as if it's an inconvenience to have that cloud over them. Not a gray cloud, but a beautiful, pristine cloud. Do you buy, Seth, all the talk from the Eagles this offseason about how much they're trying to put last year deep in the rearview mirror?
Well, hey, listen, the head coach has to set the stage with the messaging, and I like it. You know, I was on with Howard Eskin last night, and he was up in arms about the fakeness of you trying to ignore the fact that, you know, that they won the Super Bowl. And they asked him, hey, you know, do you know that they're lowering the banner? And he said, Nick Sirianni said, I didn't know they were lowering the banner. You serious? You know, and then he was like, oh, as a matter of fact, the players won't even be out on the field for the banner. You got to understand what Nick Sirianni is tasked with doing. Nick Sirianni is tasked with getting his team ready, getting them focused to defend the Super Bowl championship. So in that stead, he's got to figure out, okay, what kind of message am I going to send? And if you listen to Jalen Hurts echoes a lot of what Nick Sirianni says. Jalen Hurts said the messaging has been is contributions over credit, okay? However you got to get the job done, get the job done. I like it, man. There's nothing wrong with it because a team can easily fall into the trap, D-Gun, of feeling themselves because they just came off of a Super Bowl, but failing to realize and understand that the 31 other teams in the National Football League are now gunning for you. You are no longer the hunter, you are the hunted.
When you look at the teams that have been most successful in the history of the National Football League, the Packers of the 60s, Steelers of the 70s, Cowboys and 49ers of the 80s and 90s, and of course the Patriots. Look at the run the Patriots had for 15 years. You know what the message was? Last year was last year. Plain and simple. You have to start that message shortly after you've hoisted that trophy and enjoyed all the celebrations. Because what happens is if you don't set a guideline early, you allow players mentally to veer and get caught up in the fact that we are the champions, it can come back and bite you in the behind the next season. So I love what Sirianni did in terms of setting the standard early on back before spring ball. Hey, that was it. You know, we can't control the past anymore, but we can control the present and the future. And, of course, you start with your leaders on the team delivering that message to, number one, the younger guys coming back, free agents coming in, and draft picks as well coming in as well. You cannot let them get caught up in what was, because what was could turn out to be what isn't the upcoming season.
Well, let's get into this then, because I mean, we've all heard the Super Bowl champions in years past talk about how, last year is last year. But I've never heard a team talk about almost a disdain for the fact that they won. I've never heard an offensive lineman like Jordan Mailata come out and say what he said during training camp, which was, we're not even defending world champions. We're not defending anything. He used another word. I'll say anything. But we're not defending anything. Jalen Hurts, a couple of days after winning the Super Bowl, talked about how he feels behind other NFL quarterbacks because he was busy winning that pesky Super Bowl, so he wasn't as far advanced in his offseason regimen. This is the motivation I think every single Philadelphia Eagles fan wants for their team, because we're not a what have you done for me lately city. We're a what are you doing for me right now, and also what are you doing for me tomorrow?
You know, players as well as organizations and coaches sometimes can get themselves caught in a situation where they exhale. This game is a game of competition. And when you look at the greats of the game, like Michael Jordan would try to find ways to motivate himself, to be upset about his opponent. Like, I'm coming after you. I heard what you said, or, you said that I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that. Isn't this really a little bit of that, where they're trying to find the motivation necessary because it's so easy to fall into the trap of we're Super Bowl 59 champions. We the king of the hill. We've arrived. All we got to do is show up. No, they're trying to set the stage for a back-to-back championship with the correct mindset. Try to find every little thing that you need to motivate you and to make you uber competitive so that you can get back to the mountaintop again, D-Gun.
Yeah, I think individually, Seth, players have to self-motivate themselves. You have to find certain ways to stay on top of your game, I think mentally more so than physically in a lot of ways. It could be, all right, and it's not from a selfish standpoint. Okay, I ran for this many yards last year. I want to increase that. I threw for this many yards. I had this many sacks or this many tackles. Not in a selfish sense, but to challenge yourself to continuously be better. You look at the greatest players in the game, they always talk about, you mentioned Michael Jordan. He always strived to get better the next season, no matter what he did in the past. Football players are the same way. You look at the greatest players in the history of the game, they all want to outdo what they did the previous season. Now, whether they achieve that or not, that remains to be seen. But the mindset is there. This is my long-term goal in terms of what I'm trying to achieve individually and collectively.
All right, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, yet again, they have another different offensive play caller. They went from Nick Sirianni to Shane Steichen in the first year, and now they're moving on to Kevin Patullo as the play caller and offensive coordinator for the Eagles. If you guys have one ask, Gunnar, I'll ask you this first.
Yeah.
One ask of Kevin Patullo going into his first year as a play caller here, really ever in the NFL, despite being in the NFL as a coach and assistant for a number of years. What would your ask be for him as a wrinkle to this offense?
Don't deviate too much from what you had success with before. The only way you have to deviate if certain teams try to take you out of what you did. And I think a lot of teams are going to try to take Saquon away in the running game, which is going to force them to throw the football more. But don't get too creative, because just a few years ago, we saw what happened when one offensive coordinator transitioned to another one. We saw a vast difference in how the offense was run. It didn't work. And that offensive coordinator was only here 1 year. All right, so you knew the blueprint. You were here last year. You saw the success that got you to the Super Bowl. You don't have to be Michelangelo and paint a completely different canvas from what got you there. Just stay the course, and everything else will take care of itself, because most importantly, most of the personnel, especially in the offensive side of the ball that got you there, is back.
What would you ask of Kevin Patullo going into this year?
Hey, man, don't mess it up.
Stay out of the way.
Don't mess it up, okay? Understand where you are on the road. You're driving a Ferrari. Don't drive it like a Jeep, okay? You got the best offensive line in football. You got arguably the best duo of wide receivers in the National Football League. You got, a tight end that could be a top 5 tight end if they fed him the football on a regular basis. You got the number 1 ranked player in the National Football League per his peers in running back. And, the great Joe Montana said that if he was starting a team, Jalen Hurts would be one of the top 4 quarterbacks in the National Football League. How do you mess that up? How do you mess that up? All you got to do is look at the game plan and look at the blueprint for what you did last year. If you do that, now understand, I get it. 31 other teams out there have spent the last 31 weeks trying to figure out how to stop this offense with Saquon Barkley. The Kansas City Chiefs gave everybody a blueprint. So if you don't think that some of these teams are going to try to come in and do the same things that the Kansas City Chiefs did in the Super Bowl, you're out of your mind. But the truth of the matter is also, those teams tried to do it last year. 30 of those teams tried to do it last year and were unsuccessful. The only team that was able to get it done, and it was because Jalen was out of the game with the concussion and Kenny Pickett was in, and you took away the read option and the RPO, is the Washington Commanders in Week 16. Everybody else struggled to be able to stop what they do. So now you go back to the drawing board. You understand what you can be successful with and what teams are going to try to take away, and you alter your plan just slightly. You got some key breakers, some new plays that teams haven't seen before. But you don't have to reinvent the wheel here. You just don't have to do that. Just Kevin Patullo, don't mess it up, man. That's all I got to say to you guys.
So go to this. Let me throw this number out then, because this is a number that's been used a lot throughout the offseason. 482. 482 touches for Saquon Barkley. Now, when I bring that number up, I know a lot of people jump to, hey, this isn't Derrick Henry. This isn't a guy getting hit 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage and then carrying 7 people and a bus and a tractor to get 5 yards in front of the line of scrimmage. So they haven't been as difficult runs, is what I'm saying. How much does that number factor into what the Eagles do this year with Saquon Barkley, Seth, if at all?
Well, I'm going to dispute your numbers because, I did my own research, and I think it was 378. So I think he had.
I'm saying touches.
Yeah, touches.
Including postseason.
Well, maybe I didn't include the postseason, but I know during the regular season, if that's the case, he had 345 carries and another 33 passes caught. So, but yeah, it's a thing, It definitely is a thing. And the Eagles have got to be cognizant of it. And I think they are cognizant of it when you go and you bring in an A.J. Dillon and you let Kenneth Gainwell walk, and you're excited about what Will Shipley means to this team. I think that they're going to alleviate some of his workload. That would be the smart thing to do. That's a lot of touches, for one full season. And the smart thing to do is to mete out some of this where you can. And in the situations where you need your superstar to be the superstar, of course you're going to have him in the game.
I don't think Saquon will come close to 2,000 yards rushing this season because defenses won't allow that to happen. The Eagles have to be smart.
Wait a minute. They couldn't stop him last year. What makes you think they're going to stop him this year?
I think they're going to make it more. I think they're going to make more of a concerted effort, defenses in general. This is the first time in history a team coming off a Super Bowl championship comes into a new season playing 10 opponents that went to the playoffs last year. This has never happened before, which that means you're playing a better caliber of team. You're playing smarter coordinators on the other side of the football. I think they're going to try to, you just mentioned, I think they're going to try to enhance a lot of what Kansas City did. We're going to take Saquon away and dare you to beat us in the passing game, and of course the Eagles beat him up all across the field. They're not going to let just Saquon run up and down the field. And if I'm the Eagles, now he's still a young man, but you increased his financial numbers for a reason. You want him here for more than just the next season. With that said, I think the numbers that he touches the ball is going to be reduced a little bit. Not by a vast number, but I do think it's going to be reduced a little bit. I think he's easily going to get 1,500 yards rushing this year. I don't think he'll get close to 2,000 though.
So go ahead.
So I never like saying what somebody can't do until they prove to me that they can. Now I agree with you 100% that they're going to dial his numbers back.
Yeah.
But I don't ascribe to the fact that everybody's going to be able to stop the Eagles. What Kansas City did, Saquon had 25 carries for 57 yards, for 2.2 yards a carry, I believe it was.
Yep.
At the end of the day, D-Gun, 4 out of those, and it may be more, 4 out of those 10 playoff teams, the Eagles played last year, okay? They stomped the mud hole in Washington.
Yep.
Then they probably would have stomped the mud hole in the Rams. Okay. Then they turned around and I'm trying to think who else they played, the other NFC team that they played. And maybe I got my math wrong.
Green Bay?
Well, Green Bay.
Yeah.
Okay. Dominated Green Bay, and then they absolutely just demolished the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's 4 out of the 10 that's in the playoffs. And oh, by the way, they went down to Baltimore in a hostile environment and beat them, late in the year. So I'm not one to talk about what a team can't do and what it can't do and what a player can and can't do until he proved to me or they proved to me that they can't. Because, yes, the competition is stiff. But if you don't think the Eagles know that they've got to beat the best in order to be the best, they've already just walked through that fire.
All right, so Jalen Hurts in his first press conference of the new year, when he was asked the same question about Saquon Barkley, do you rely on him as much as you did last year? Do you rely more on the passing game? What do you think defenses are doing? And he said, I think defenses are trying to pick their poison. How do you not love that, right? So what does Jalen Hurts need to do? Because this is the first year that we go into ever in Philadelphia Eagles history where a still fairly young quarterback who has been to the playoffs every year, been to 2 Super Bowls, a 2-time NFC champion, a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, is starting out the next year. What are the questions, if anything, surrounding Jalen Hurts going into this season? He answered the question, I'm worried if Jalen Hurts has to throw the football, can they win a game? They won the Super Bowl. Okay, so that question's answered. What's left?
I'll give you first swing. Go ahead.
I don't think there's anything left for him to prove, to be honest. It just fascinates me how indifferent the so-called pundits are towards Jalen. And more people dislike him than like him. Why? Because he doesn't give you that definitive quote every time he steps to the podium. Why? Because he's not throwing the ball 35 times for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns like some of the greats we've watched throughout the course of our lives. Why? He didn't turn the ball over much. So what's wrong with Jalen? He is basically running an offense that has been designed for him to be successful in. And success does not have to be measured by gaudy numbers. It's efficiency. Think about how many teams in the National Football League would kill to have a Jalen Hurts under center for them. There's not 32 qualified starting quarterbacks in the National Football League. You don't think there's at least 10 teams out there that would love to have a Jalen Hurts under center?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I don't understand why people are still so indifferent towards him. He doesn't do anything negative to get himself in trouble. You don't see him in the limelight in the offseason for negative stuff. He doesn't give you negative quotes. He's not controversial. As a matter of fact, when he steps away from the podium, it's under the heading of things that make you go, what did he mean? Right?
Right.
So what is it about him that people don't like? I've never understood this in all the years I've covered football.
I don't know. And on that note, just real quick, in the time where mini camp breaks, and then everyone's worried about what's going to happen to the players for a month, and that, don't get arrested, don't get speeding tickets, don't let anything bad happen. Jalen Hurts wrote a children's book. Okay? So I don't understand why anyone would have anything negative to say about this guy. To your point about his personality, Gunner. But Seth, when you talk about Jalen Hurts, what else? What questions does he have to answer? Do it again?
There's no questions that this kid has to answer. Listen, I heard a quote last night that the Lions don't care about the opinions of the hyenas. You like that?
I like that.
Love
I
it.
like that.
The Lions don't care about the opinions of hyenas. So who gives a damn what they say? We talk about it because he's our quarterback, and we get a little pissed off, when not only do the local media, but also the national media likes to chime in. Let me give you all a couple of facts about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is the first running quarterback in the history of the National Football League to win the Super Bowl. Because if you go back into that era where the running quarterback splashed on the scene, a running quarterback will never win a Super Bowl. He can never win a Super Bowl. Nobody talks about that, D-Gun. Nobody talks about the fact that the first running quarterback, and they're coming, it's going to be more.
Oh, yes.
Okay? Nobody talks about the fact that Jalen Hurts is the first running quarterback, to win a Super Bowl. Okay? The other thing is nobody wants to give Jalen Hurts the credit for being the field general. Oh, Joe Burrow's a field general, and Patrick Mahomes is a field general, and Justin Herbert is a field general. And two of those guys only one of the other two has only been to a Super Bowl and lost one. Okay? But those guys are so cerebral. Those guys are so intelligent. They're so much of a field general. But people don't look at the game for Jalen through the same lenses they look at those other quarterbacks. So in their mind, those quarterbacks are much better quarterbacks than Jalen. And I call BS. You want to know why? Because when Jalen runs the RPO or the read option, do you understand how many things he's reading? Yeah. He's not just turning and reacting. He is riding the ball and reading the end guy on the line of scrimmage. If the end guy on the line of scrimmage crashes, he pulls and he keeps it. The guy stays there, he's got to hand it off. Sometimes they'll crash the end and scrape the linebacker, and now he sees the linebacker coming, he pulls up and throws a slant. All of that happening at the speed of light. And he has to decipher that information and make the right decision. Last year was Jalen Hurts' first year, okay, calling all the line protections. Yep. We talked about in the beginning of the year how important that was. And as the year went on, it just faded from everybody's memory at how hard and how difficult that was. And for the first 3 years of Jalen Hurts' career, Jason Kelce manned that position. Okay? He took over all of that last year. And then the last piece is when the Eagles are not in a good play, Jalen Hurts is making checks at the line of scrimmage to make sure that they're in the right play. Okay? When they're in a good play, he's making checks at the line to put them in a better play. But don't nobody want to give him credit for that. That 46-yard bomb in the Super Bowl to Smitty was a check at the line of scrimmage. And I can't tell you how many other run plays, okay? He and Saquon are in the backfield having a conversation. Check. Yeah. Saquon for 50. Saquon for 60.
Watch this, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So if you throw all of that into the mix, there ain't no damn way in hell you can't tell me that Jalen Hurts isn't a top 3 to 5 quarterback.
Absolutely. How do you put a Justin Herbert ahead of a Jalen?
Potential.
How do you do what?
Potential.
What potential?
Because Justin Herbert looks the part, and he's potentially, the stereotypical or the prototypical quarterback that the NFL wants to see.
Did potential get him deep
No.
in the playoffs in his career?
No.
Did it get him a Super Bowl ring?
Listen, I'm on your team.
I know. I don't want potential. I want results.
Right.
And that man under center for the Philadelphia Eagles is giving you results. The potential that we talk about is Justin Herbert. Every time he gets in a big game, throws a pick. Indecisive. And people put Josh Allen up there. I understand he's coming off an MVP season. I don't think he was the MVP of the league last year. But he got the MVP. Why? Because he threw for over 4,000 yards? How many touchdown passes did he throw for? What did that get him? How far is Josh Allen taking the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs? Lamar Jackson. How far are they taking him?
Just the AFC Championship game.
Okay.
But not the Super Bowl.
Not the Super Bowl. This man here has been to 2 and won 1. That's all you need to know.
Can I? So
Go for it.
while we're doing the show, I'm on my phone. I'm looking at you guys in the chat just to let y'all know. Okay.
He's watching.
So there's 24 Bird. Where is he at? 24 Bird said, if I was going to bring up Steve Young and Russell Wilson, but if Seth says Jalen's it, Jalen's the guy.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, okay, I get your point. Steve Young was running all over the place. I finally found my camera here.
New digs, man. It looks good here, right?
Yes. Steve Young won a Super Bowl. Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl. The difference was they're not running quarterbacks in the same, schematic way as Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts runs the RPO. He runs read option. Russell Wilson nor Steve Young ran that type of offense. They ran for their lives when they had to. Jalen can do that, but he can also run, the option portion of the offense. I just figured I'd throw that out there because that's not the first time that I heard that.
Gotcha. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about a huge story surrounding the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys, who the Eagles are playing tonight on Banner Night, as it's been called. We'll talk about that story, and we'll also give you our behind enemy lines when we return. This is the Verizon pregame show covering Eagles, Cowboys, on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel.
I know what you're thinking. Total glow up. What's her secret? Fine, I'll spill. I totally upgraded with Verizon. Everyone gets a free phone with any plan, even if you're already a customer, like me. Now I have Google Gemini. It's like a little glam squad in my pocket. Gemini, what eye makeup goes with this lipstick?
I'd suggest a classic cat eye.
Wow, setting the bar high for daycare pickup. Get in on this.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging, our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
Was that on multiple platforms?
This segment is brought to you by Recovery Unplugged. Before we get to behind enemy lines here, we're going to have a new segment here on the pregame show entitled Say What? And this is the brainchild of our friend Derek Gunn, something we have to get into today. And it has to do with Tyrese Maxey. Say it ain't so. Putting it out on social media earlier today where he reiterated the fact that he has allegiances to the Dallas Cowboys. You see it right there on your screen saying, literally from Dallas, how could you even all come at me like that, basically? Look, I don't mind guys being true to themselves because in Philly, if there's anything that we hate, it's a fraud.
Yep.
So, he's just trying to be true. Now, do you hold it against him, Seth, for rooting for them boys.
I don't hold anything against anybody. There's a smart way to do things and there's a dumb way to do things. There's nothing wrong, that you grew up in Dallas and you have your allegiances. Go for it. But the smart thing wasn't not to let it be known today of all days that you're a Cowboys fan, D-Gun, because he got his ass roasted on social media.
Let me tell you something. You picked the wrong day and the wrong week
Exactly.
to let people know that. I understand you're from Dallas and you're proud of your culture and your history and everything else. I get that. But you play and live in Philadelphia. You are coming off a season which was abysmal. Fans are irate at the performance of the team overall. Now, he's a phenomenal young player, no question about that. And we understand Joel Embiid was hurt, which cost him a lot during the course of that season. But fans are irate with that Sixers organization. He should be smart enough to know this. Now, I don't know if he did it for clickbait or whatever the case may be, but now I saw a lot of the comments, man, they were attacking him like bombs. And a lot of the comments were, wait until you step on the court this upcoming season and hear the boos instead of the cheers.
Did he think this will be fun? I'll have some fun.
But that's the mentality of a young player. Yes, that's the
Eagles
mentality. Hey, I'm just going to have some fun. You know what? I would have told people that kind of mess, man. Now, if you were from, let's say, Chicago, San Francisco, Arizona, you playing Eagles, people wouldn't have taken that so hard. But you've been here long enough to know the hatred factor behind an Eagles-Dallas Cowboys matchup. And you messed around and said the wrong thing at the wrong time, especially on banner night? Oh, no.
Now,
No.
Speaking of which, all right, say what? That's the first one. Second one, I'm just going to say this one. CD Lamb. Now, we all know the story that Nick Sirianni is not going to have his players out there. By the way, I'm fine with that. I know that was a point of controversy. Doug Peterson didn't have the Eagles out there when they had the banner night 8 years ago. Brian Dawkins hyped up the crowd. Jeffrey Lurie brought out the Lombardi trophy, and that was that. Everyone moved on, and the Eagles laid an egg in the first half, came out, and it was a different story in the second half. CD Lamb said, despite the Eagles not being out there for the unfurling of the banner, CD Lamb will be out there because it'll be motivating for him. Seth, what do you make of that?
Good for him.
Would you do that as an opposing player?
No, I'm not wired that way. But this generation of players, they need motivation any way that they can get it. And if that works for him, by all means, go for it. Why didn't you tell me yesterday that was the case?
With what?
That Peterson, didn't have the team out. I didn't know that.
Oh, I went back and watched because I was like, I don't remember them being out there. I went back and I watched the video of it, and a couple of things stuck out to me. One, obviously, that the team wasn't out there. Two, the fact that Brian Dawkins was hyping it up. Three, that Brian Dawkins had to wear a credential at the link. He had a credential hanging from his belt. If you're working at the link, you don't know who Brian Dawkins is. Come on. And then the place just went nuts.
Got some stories.
The link just absolutely going crazy, and then of course them getting booed off the field at halftime was another interesting thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if I was a player, I'd want to be out there to enjoy that with the fans. Why
really?
wouldn't they do that?
Because they hate that they won the Super Bowl.
No, but I'm talking about why wouldn't the Eagles? I would think that Jeffrey Lurie would instruct his head coaches to have those players out on the field for the lowering of the banner. That makes no sense to me. And I'm also a little pissed because I owe Howard Eskin $100. We had a bet last night.
Yeah.
Oh boy, about whether or not they were out there?
Whether or not they would be out there. And I'm like, there's no way in hell that Jeffrey's not going to allow his players to be out on the field for the lowering of the banner. That's what they work for.
Well, it's on brand. It's on brand for this Philadelphia Eagles team that spoke. We talked about in the opening segment. We talked about how this team wanted nothing to do with their Super Bowl victory. Jordan Mailata literally said, "We're not defending Super Bowl champions." I'm like, well, factually you are, but not in their mind because they don't want to defend the title. They want to go get another one. And I'll tell you this, as someone who does, root for this team to win a lot of football games, I love that mentality.
I like the fact that the coach is a part of the ongoing theme that has transpired since back in spring training. We're not looking behind us. I don't think they want the players distracted. And I can't remember. I believe it was A.J. Brown the other day who said, we have a banner in the locker room. We don't need to be out there for that. So the mindset continues. I don't think, if I'm the head coach, I don't want my players getting caught up in the hoopla of the lights and the glitz and the glamour. And I understand. Because when we run out of that tunnel to start this game, the fans are going to go nuts as it is after the fact. The ceremony is taking place 15 minutes before kickoff, at 7:45, so roughly 35 minutes before kickoff. There's a lot of stuff you want to go over between 7:45 and 8:20.
Okay.
Last minute stuff. I don't need my team out on the field.
You're shaking your head, Seth.
Man, they've been in the locker room since
I
4
don't care.
o'clock.
I don't care.
kidding
I don't
me?
care.
If
I
they
don't
ain't
care.
in the barn now, guess
care.
what? The animal's going hungry.
They don't need to see it. Why do they need to see it?
Man,
They know what they did.
Let me tell you something, man. I just don't subscribe to this way of thinking. I just don't. I just don't. You know, you can't live in this world of denial and feel like that really helps you, because you've been sending the message all off season about what we're doing. Your quarterback has been echoing as the head coach everything that you've been doing. And let those guys enjoy that, 5 minutes of cheering and the dropping of the banner. It makes no sense to me.
They enjoyed it on the field when they hoisted Lombardi. They enjoyed it not too long ago when they had their little soiree to get their rings with the wings on them and stuff like that, right?
When
parade.
you're old,
It's all about business tonight.
when they old and there has been like me, they will look back at this and wish that they would have been out on the field when that banner dropped in the midst of those fans.
Yeah, but
I'm telling you right now.
other teams don't do it either. They don't when they win Super Bowls. Bill Belichick never let his team do that kind of stuff. They don't let them players out on the field. We got a game to play. We got a job to do.
I want them to stand on that sideline with their arms crossed and look across the field at Jerry and the Dallas Cowboys and send that message, that nonverbal message. This is how you do it. It's been a while, ain't it, Jerry?
You know what?
I love. That I can get behind.
I like CeeDee Lamb's mentality. I want to be out there for motivation. I want it to motivate me. You as a former football player knew this. Even though you played in a different era, the mindset is the same. Every week you're looking for something to jack you up just a little bit more. And the fact that your arch rival is lowering that banner in front of you on the opening night of the season, and you haven't come close, your organization hasn't come close to something like this in over 3 decades. Sure, that's motivation. Now, I don't think the Dallas Cowboys are anywhere near talented enough to get close to the only Super Bowl they're going to get to is if they're invited by one of the 2 teams that make it to the Super Bowl. But if he uses that as motivation, and if somebody else, you never know. It's a trickle down. It's a trickle down effect. Maybe some other players have the same mindset as a CeeDee Lamb. Maybe CeeDee was speaking for a multitude of players. I don't think that's just that type of motivation is going to translate into wins, but it's along the lines of helping you make yourself a better football player, both mentally and physically.
I tell you what, if Dallas ever did win one, I can tell you, Jerry would probably send them out on a wagon. He wouldn't have his players standing on the sideline. They got the horses, like the boomer schooner.
Yeah.
He gonna hire like a truck that pulls a big schooner and have all his players. And listen, man, I get it. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just know what it is. I know what it is to lose a Super Bowl, and I know what it is to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And what that means to you as a player, because nothing's guaranteed.
That's right.
Another Super Bowl this year, and even though I feel like this team is supremely positioned over the next 2 or 3 years to compete for a Super Bowl, nothing's guaranteed, D-Gun.
I know.
Because you're like a few major injuries away from your season going in the tank. And I'm not speaking that into existence or anything. We're just having a conversation about the reality of what life is.
Well, we saw that happen with the 2005 Philadelphia Eagles coming off a Super Bowl appearance. Everybody thought they were going to repeat and get back there again. T.O. lost his mind. The injuries that season were unbelievable, and I covered that team. The injuries and the players that went down in 2005, and they finished what? They went from a Super Bowl appearance in 2004 to like 6-10 in 2005 because one player messed up the mental psyche chemistry in that locker room, and other players just kept falling by the wayside. They could never recover from that.
That player's name was Ike Reese.
No.
Starting that fight at midfield. I didn't forget Ike. I didn't forget. All right, now, in all seriousness, let's get into our behind enemy line segment. Before we jump into this, I want to say I was going to name Micah Parsons as a guy to be worried about, but Jerry Jones done messed that up. Before we jump fully into this segment, Seth, obvious question here, but what does it mean for the Eagles to not have to face Micah Parsons?
Man, the minute that I saw it, I took to Twitter. That's my jam. That's where I go to have a little fun. And I said, man, just leave it to Jerry Claus to give us Christmas in August. It never ceases to amaze me, man. He's just the gift that keeps on giving. How in the world do you trade that player away? And I feel like this move was not a move about money. okay? Because the difference in, the $5 million a year, that's major for anybody. But the Cowboys had, I think, like $41-42 million on the table. And, after the trade, obviously Green Bay had already pre-negotiated that deal. New York Jets and Hassan Reddick, but I digress. They had already they had already negotiated that deal. So, but the move was not about, in my opinion, money or structure. It was about Jerry speaking to himself, sending the message to the rest of the NFL and all sports leagues, so to speak, that this is my team that's worth $12 to $15 billion, okay? And I'm going to run it the way that I want to. I'll trade your ass and take the assets, okay? And at the end of the day, I think it hurts the Cowboys because, yes, you got Kenny Clark back who's going to help in the run game, but I can run to the edges now and double Kenny Clark in the middle because you've got some no-namers on the outside. You lost DeMarcus Ware. So in my mind, there was no way in hell you could lose Micah Parsons. Now you lost both. You think – and listen, Lane Johnson said that he's happy that guy's gone. Yeah. Lane Johnson going to be out there on skates tonight. He's going to be out there on skates tonight. I'm telling you right now. So that's a major loss for them. And psychologically, I had Emmitt Smith on my TV show this week, and I asked him, I'm like, psychologically, what does that do to a team to not only lose a leader, but lose arguably, the best player that they got on the entire roster?
That's right.
And he said, man, people around Dallas are hot. Yeah. So, and then the psychological effect that it has on the team. Somebody's happy because they're going to get a chance to start and play, but how does that affect the other players on the team, the other players on the defense, and their mindset going into this game?
Now, the story came out earlier today, Gunner, that the Eagles were knocking on Dallas Cowboys' deal about Micah Parsons. What do you know about that?
Well, yeah, they did inquire about Micah Parsons, but from what I'm told, the biggest negative in terms of the Eagles' pursuit of Micah was the upfront money. With the Eagles having been strapped cap-wise the way they were, once they found out the upfront money that Micah and his team was looking for, they were out. But they did inquire. That's Howie Roseman. Howie is going to look at every and all possibility. They didn't have the money to get a Micah Parsons on the surface. If the money was feasible, Howie, Howie, hide a little money here, hide a little money there. Hey, by the way, we're going to give you more upfront money. Merry Christmas. But because of the volume of the upfront money that they were talking, Michael Parsons camp was talking about, they bowed out real quick in the pursuit of Michael Parsons.
Jerry Claus wasn't giving the Eagles Micah. He sat back and watched. He sat back and watched what transpired, with the Giants last year and Saquon. That deal was never going to happen. We could have offered them 5 first-round draft picks. They would never make that deal.
I don't know. We're talking about Jerry.
No.
See, Jerry?
He ain't making that
Jerry
deal.
Sometimes mentally is 3 sheets to the wind. So you never know with Jerry. All we hear Jerry talking about now, well, we garnered up enough draft picks. We can get volume for next year and the year after. How's that worked out for you in the past? How's that volume of
It's not like, listen, at the end of the day, it's not like they're killing it in the draft.
No.
They're not wheeling and dealing like Howie and making moves and finding diamonds in the rough.
No.
They are drafting like, top-notch people. Like, you got Michael Parsons because you suck.
Right.
You got CeeDee Lamb because you suck.
Yeah.
Right.
They are good at that.
And you gave up a generational. The biggest thing that tickled me was people when the trade first went down, the so-called experts, the financial experts, the sports saying Dallas got duped. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, Green Bay gave up 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark. They said they could have got a lot more for him. And when you look at some of the bigger trades in the past, 2 first-round picks, a second, a third, a fifth-round pick, plus maybe a play, Dallas got duped. Because like Seth just said, do you really trust Dallas's drafting when you look at the history of their drafting? No. They got duped. Hoodwinked, bamboozled.
Their starting quarterback is a 4th-round draft pick.
There you go. There you go.
How about that? All right, let's get into our behind enemy lines. I'll take this first, Gunner, before you go. And the first person I'm going to talk about is Deron Bland. Talking about this guy with 9 interceptions. I know it was 2 seasons ago. I know he's coming off a stress fracture. He's only coming off 7 games last year where he did not have 1 interception. But as we went through all of last year, including that 10-game winning streak, I always told you guys the only thing that really concerns me, other than injuries, which everyone has to worry about, turnovers are the X factor in every football game. Don't turn the football over. Don't allow this guy to get his hands on the football, Jalen Hurts, just as Jalen Hurts has been doing over the last season. Don't give him the football. Don't give Trayvon Diggs the football either. Continue to do your thing, but that's the one guy I'm going to be looking at when it comes to that Dallas Cowboy defense. Gunnar, who are you looking at behind enemy lines?
I'm going to have to go with Dak Prescott, and here's why. For some reason, no matter where they play, Dak always seems to play well against the Philadelphia Eagles. Do you know, historically in his career, he's never thrown an interception at the link? He has 10 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions at the link. It doesn't make a difference who he's throwing to, who he's handing off to. Dak Prescott always finds a way to play well against the Philadelphia Eagles. He's had since he's rookie, since he was inserted as a starting quarterback as a rookie. So Dak Prescott's coming off that hamstring surgery. He didn't play last year in either game against the Philadelphia Eagles, and obviously showed because they got freight trained in both games. I think Dak Prescott is going to have a decent game against a Philadelphia Eagles defense that had to replenish some of the defense, and a defense that's going to take, like everybody else in the league, 2 or 3 games before it settles in and we find out what the identity is.
December 10th, 2023, the last time Dak Prescott faced the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. Cowboys unfortunately won that game 33-13. Who are you looking at today, Seth Joyner?
No time like the present.
No time like the present.
Yeah, there you go.
So before you guys put up my enemy between my enemy behind enemy lines, let me set this up, okay? So and this will probably tell you while I go into this little soliloquy. Mm-hmm. The Eagles had a competition at the opposite corner of Quinyon Mitchell. Now, I was of the opinion that the next guy up should have been Isaiah Rodgers. Mm-hmm. Was he a little shaky last year? Absolutely. When you ask a player to come in off the sideline because Darius Slay is a little beat up, he's going to be a little spotty because, and I get it. He's supposed to be, when you're a backup, you got to be ready, like not 5 plays from now, but right now. But you also got to take into consideration this guy spent an entire year outside of the NFL. So there was a little bit of rust to be knocked off, and he was ascending before the suspension as one of the top cornerbacks in the league, okay? Eagles decided to move on. $10 million is a little too much or whatever the number was, okay? So now you open up this competition between Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks. Get into training camp, you go through OTAs, and pretty early in training camp, you realize that might not work out. Mm-hmm. Okay. Eli Ricks is gone. Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson steps in, and they have this battle. Okay. And we get to training camp. Towards the end of training camp, the Eagles make a trade with the Vegas Raiders, and they send us Jacorian Bennett. So that kind of told me that they weren't really sold on Keely Ringo or Adoree Jackson, because that late in training camp, you don't make trades like that, D-Gun, okay? Right. So I can read the tea leaves. So Adoree Jackson has the starting job for now, but whoever winds up with that job better buckle up their chin strap and tighten up their jock strap, because they're not going to be throwing at Quinyon Mitchell or Cooper DeJean in the slot. They coming after that weak side corner all the time. That being said, George Pickens is my guy. Because if you put CeeDee Lamb in the slot and you start moving them all over the place, you're going to have to do some doubling. That means that Adoree Jackson is going to be lined up one-on-one on George Pickens on the outside by himself, and Dak Prescott going to be drooling on his face mask. Telling you right now.
And a rookie safety over the top.
There are a lot of people who are down on George Pickens because of his mindset a lot of times. Mentally, he takes himself out of games. But when he is focused and playing football, he's one of the best pass catchers, one of the most acrobatic pass catchers in all of pro football. So new environment, new opportunity, new quarterback. It's going to be interesting to see how George Pickens fares in this Dallas offense. An offense that, by the way, suspect offensive line, suspect at running back. I like Jake Ferguson as a tight end. I like the 2 wide receivers they have on the outside. But Will he get the ball enough to satisfy him when you know the other guy on the other side of the football field is your marquee player on that football team?
Well,
CD Lamb?
all he's got to do is be patient, D-Gun. If he's patient enough to let CD eat enough and then make the defensive coordinator adjust, you know, and you know he's going to run. He's going to run go routes and stop routes. Go routes and stop routes. He ain't running anything inside the hashes. But the guy has an uncanny ability to make the circus catch.
No question.
And he can get open because I think he's really deceptive with his speed. So it's going to be really interesting to watch what happens opposite Quinyon Mitchell.
But the problem has been with him in Pittsburgh is if he doesn't get enough looks, enough attention, mentally he takes himself out of games. And see, that was the problem. That's why Pittsburgh basically let him go. They got tired of his antics. So that's why I said if Brian Schottenheimer and the organization down there can get him to stay focused, he's going to be a great complement to basically a mediocre offense down in Dallas.
Fair enough. All right, Seth highlighted some of it already, but a lot of changes on the defensive side of the football that we haven't addressed yet. We'll talk about that when we return, especially two asks of the Philadelphia asks.
Oh, I thought you said something.
I put the emphasis on the K. I emphasized. Come on. But we will talk about what Vic Fangio is depending on, something he depended on last year as well. That's when we return on the Verizon pregame show.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
If you understand that success is built on trusted relationships and dependable performance, Mid-Penn Bank is the right bank for you. We're on a mission to prove that the right bankers can make a big difference. We work harder, we get things done, and we're in your corner. With financial centers strategically located throughout the greater Philadelphia region and new locations in central New Jersey, we're ready to bring you the best in commercial and personal banking. Call or visit us today to connect with a professional Mid-Penn banker. Member FDIC. Go Eagles!
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
The coming segment is brought to you by Weber Display and Packaging. Welcome back to the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel, and also thanks to everyone watching on 6abc.com. Last year, the Philadelphia Eagles, they asked two rookies, Derek Gunn and Seth Joyner, to step in and do a phenomenal job in their secondary. They asked them to step up in the form of Quinyon Mitchell. Cooper DeJean, you could argue, was the big step forward after the bye week last year as their slot corner. Now they're asking Jihad Campbell, and now they're asking a lot of whoever's going to be that other outside corner, and also Drew Makuba, if he is your starting safety. You have him and Sidney Brown going back and forth. Asking too much of another young player in Jihad Campbell.
I don't think – I honestly believe that I've got supreme confidence in Vic Fangio. And I think that if he felt as though Jihad couldn't get the job done, then he wouldn't put him out there. You know, now, the little small intricacies of the game, Jihad's going to have to learn that on the fly. But of all the players on the defensive side of the ball, with the exception of maybe Jalen Carter, I'm most excited about Jihad Campbell. Because, man, this kid has it all. He can play with his hand down on the ground. He can play standing up on the edge. He can play off the ball. they can morph back and forth between their 4 and their 5-man looks, by moving him on or off the ball. They can even get to a 3-3 look if they so choose by, taking him from a 4-man look and taking him off the ball with the other 3 linebackers. There's so much that you could do. And I talked about it, on my TV show this week. Man, if I was a defensive coordinator and I had that guy, I'd be drooling on myself. From a creative standpoint as to what you can do and how creative you can get with him, the only thing is how quickly can he digest and decipher the larger playbook, that Vic Fangio is going to have to implement as the weeks go on.
What do you think of Jahad Campbell coming into his first game?
Well, I think when you look at the personnel the Eagles already have, you don't have to rush him in there, and I think Fangio strategically will put him in certain downs and situations that play to his strengths right away. Let's face it, he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to make a mistake over exuberance, being caught up in the night, season opener, packed house, things of that nature. And that's only natural for a young man. But there's certain downs and situations that you put him in that will play to his strength. And as the season progresses, like they did last year with young players, his role will evolve. It's a feeling out process right now. They've had training camp, yes, but Vic has not seen him in a real game at the NFL level. So once they determine exactly what he is and what he is not, that's when they're going to let him pin back his ears and go and play to his strengths.
All I need to think about is Vic Fangio coming into the draft room after they took Jahad Campbell. And I don't think I've ever seen that man smile that big. He was very excited to be getting that versatile weapon, as you pointed out, Seth, on his defense.
Because I'm telling you, think about this. The first 4 games last year, they were 2-2. They insert Cooper DeJean in for Avonte Maddox, and all of a sudden the defense quickly began to get better and better. And as the season went on, as they began to digest and understand the defense that much better, they played better and better. But I can tell you from a player standpoint that Vic only scratched the surface of the different things that he can do. So the more that the guys that have been here, the faster they learn, the more that he can feed them. It's like a water hose. You can't turn it on full blast. You got to give them a little bit and then increase a little bit, increase a little bit more. And I think the big thing is how quickly we get that left corner resolved, how quickly we find out, how good Sidney Brown can be and whether he learns how to temper the way that he plays, not playing 120 miles an hour all the time, but understanding when to go 120, when to bring it down to 90, when to take it to 80, when to take it to 60, sometimes even when to take it to 55, And if that's not the case, if he's not the guy, how quickly Drew Makuba can step in. All of these pieces, how is Jalix Hunt going to react? The sooner he understands what the big picture is going to look like, I think that he just starts, turning up the faucet just a little bit more.
I like it. To go to Cooper DeJean again here, there's been a lot of talk throughout the offseason of not just nickel, but also playing outside, not just playing outside, also playing safety. I mean, I'm all for a Swiss Army knife. I'm all for versatility here, but I asked the question a second ago, too much for Jahad Campbell? Is this too much for Cooper DeJean?
No.
And how much do you expect him to be playing, in those versatile roles?
Oh, I think again, it depends on down distance and who's on the field, what personnel he's stacked up against. When you have a player that is that versatile, that's a rare commodity in the National Football League to play on the back end, and you can play multiple roles like that. Some players just don't gravitate towards certain aspects of certain defensive schemes. This guy's already shown you he can do a bunch of everything. So why not use it to the fullest? Because you're going to play some top-notch offensive talent this year, and you're going to play some top-notch quarterbacks, and you're going to have to be more versatile. And let's face it, Fangio's going to have to be more creative in trying to disguise certain things that he wants to do as well. So when you got that guy that can be that so-called Swiss Army knife, so to speak, use it to the fullest.
I think that the reason why they did what they did this summer is because they wanted to see if we give him the full hose, can he digest it? Can he take it? Okay? And if he could, I should say, he's the insurance policy. Because they put him at safety, his natural position at slot, and he plays him outside. So whether it's injury or inefficiencies at these other players, they've got their insurance policy that they can pull the plug on this guy, put Cooper out there and try somebody else somewhere. I think he's the ultimate insurance policy for the entire secondary.
All right, before we get into our predictions for both the game and also our mid-pen bank player to bank on, last question I have for you guys, and it has to do with Kevin Patullo. Is it an advantage to Kevin Patullo in his first game to go up against a defensive coordinator that he coached with, essentially, in Indianapolis? Matt Eberflus was the defensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts under Frank Reich. They were together for 3 years, him as the DC, and then you had Kevin Patullo as the wide receiver coach for 2 years, and then the title was passing game specialist for 1 year. Obviously, the book is more out on Matt Eberflus. He's been a defensive coordinator. He's been a head coach. He knows the Dallas Cowboys. He was there for 7 years before as the linebacker coach. Is it an advantage, Seth, for Patullo, or is it an advantage for Eberflus?
I think it's an advantage for Eberflus because it's his first time, because he's been a coordinator before. He's been a head coach. He's been a coordinator before. That's how he got the job in Chicago. For Kevin Patullo, there's got to be, some butterflies and some uncomfortability right now because he's never been in a situation where he's actually called plays. Now, how much control he has over that is yet to be seen because you always know that Nick Sirianni always wants to dip his finger in the sauce to see, if it's up to taste. So we'll see how that plays out.
What an appropriate analogy for a guy named Sirianni and Patullo.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. Vic Fangio, you're not doing it right, by the way. No, that's what Fangio would say. Gunnar, who gets the advantage? Who has the advantage?
I would have to say Eberflus.
Okay.
Because it's a more natural role that he's in now, whereas Patullo has been bits and pieces in offensive schemes. But now he's basically the underling architect of this whole offense. Now, to Patullo's credit, the good thing is he's got an offense that's coming back intact. The personnel knows him. He knows the personnel. He knows what's expected of him. There are a lot of times offensive coordinators come into situations, you're feeling your way through something. And even when you go through training camp, until the bullets start flying for real, you still don't know what you have. He knows what he has. He's been sitting in those meetings all last season. Now his role has been elevated. That's to his advantage, but I do think Eberflus has the advantage because he's been in that role in general for a lot longer than Patullo has.
Why do you guys hate the Eagles, man?
I know.
Why do you guys hate the Eagles?
I
go Patullo all day.
First game of the season.
so negative. I will say Eberflus is taking over a defense that was flat out terrible
garbage
last year. Oh, yeah, and they also lost Michael Parsons, just to reiterate that. All right, let's get to our predictions. First, let's go with our players of the game, our mid-pen bank players to bank on predictions. Gunnar, you want to take the first crack at it?
Oh, man.
Who you banking on? Star of the show.
Why are you sitting over there like you haven't even thought about it?
I know, but it's so many to choose from. I'm going to say, I think Devontae Smith is going to have a big night.
The Smitty going off tonight.
Yeah, I think Deron Bland and AJ are going to go at it, but I think Smitty's going to go off tonight and have a big game. I go back to what I said at the top of the show. Dallas would be stupid not to try to take Saquon out of the game and force Jalen to throw the football a lot more. If he has to throw the football a lot more, I think they will have much more success on the side of throwing where Devontae Smith is. Say what you want to say, DeBron Bland wears the Dallas Cowboys uniform, but he's a good football player, and he's going to try to out-physical A.J. Brown and take A.J. out of the game mentally. I'm going to go Devontae.
You say he's a good football player?
I think he is.
A.J. Brown's a great football player.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Are we still on our rule where we can't pick quarterbacks?
What?
No, okay, that's too easy.
That's too easy.
We never had that rule anyway, come to think of it.
Okay, give me
There must
Jalen
be
Hurts.
some other pregame
Give him
show.
Jalen Hurts.
Give me Jalen Hurts.
You running around with some other pregame show?
Yeah, really. You're hanging with the wrong people.
Oh, jeez. Give me Jalen Hurts for the simple fact of what you said, D-Gun. Yeah. Okay? If you're going to crowd the line of scrimmage and it's your intent to take away Saquon Barkley tonight, Jalen Hurts has more than proven time and time again that he can get the job done throwing the ball when he needs to. And if Smitty's going to have a big night, the ball got to come from somebody. Who you think is coming from?
Jalen
Hurts. You're going to go Jalen Hurts. All right, so we got Smitty, we got Hurts. I mean, Saquon, it's so easy. I mean, it's just there. I should just take it, right? I should just do the obvious and take Saquon. I'm not. Dallas Goedert. I'm going Dallas Goedert as my player to bank on today in a season where I think the passing game does need to be leaned on a little bit, if not to spell Saquon, just a little bit. Dallas Goedert's in a contract year. Let's get that contract year started off in a great way. I'm going to go Dallas Goedert tonight. Now let's go with predictions. I'll take the first crack at this one. I'm going 27-17 in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles, of course. I know offenses are not always up there with defenses at this part of the season, but the Cowboys, I looked it up, scientifically speaking, suck. So I'm going to go 27-17. Eagles win this game. D-Gun, what do you got?
I would love this to be a butt kicking for the Eagles of biblical proportions, but because it is the first game, and I do think the Eagles have superior talent over the Cowboys, but again, let me go back and say it again. It's the first game of the season. I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I'm going to say 30-17 Eagles.
Not at all Homer picks. Not at all. Not at all.
Homer!
Homer.
If you look at Mark's prediction, one would think that Jake Elliott, missed the extra point because I got the Eagles beating the Cowboys 28-17.
Okay, all right. And I think one of Dallas's touchdowns is going to come in a meaningless environment at the end of the game,
slop
just
time.
to put points on his board.
Garbage time.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick, inactives for today. Eyebrow racing, Azeez Ojulari?
Yeah. Not surprised.
Inactive? Not surprised?
Not surprised.
Okay.
No.
Tanner McKee, obviously. Drew Kendall. Ty Robinson, rookie defensive tackle, and Kenyon Green, also inactive today.
The one surprise, one thing I am surprised with is the Cowboys D tackle Mozzie Smith is not playing in this game tonight. They're talking about trying to beef up the line. That's the reason why they went out and got Kenny Clark. Mozzie's not in the lineup tonight, so interesting.
Good.
Right. Well, I'll be rooting not only for the Eagles to win, obviously, but Seth Joyner, I'll be rooting for some of the Eagles to be out there on the field for the unfurling of the banner, just to stare down Jerry Jones. You missed this? You missed it? All right, this has been our first edition here of the Verizon pregame show here on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel, 6abc.com, and also across social media platforms as well. We'll be back with you guys for the post-game show after the Eagles, hopefully starting off their season 1-0. We'll see you then.
I know what you're thinking. Total glow up. What's her secret? Fine, I'll spill. I totally upgraded with Verizon. Everyone gets a free phone with any plan, even if you're already a customer. Like me. Now I have Google Gemini. It's like a little glam squad in my pocket. Gemini, what eye makeup goes with this lipstick?
I'd suggest a classic cat eye.
Wow, setting the bar high for daycare pickup. Get in on this.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.